We have a job to do. We all have a job to do. We speak with great concern about the drug problem in America today, but we fail to appreciate or address it for what it really is, the #1 threat to our national security.
I think we can argue about what socialism means, and let me tell you, to be very frank, I don't have a blueprint in my pocket. I don't think there is one. All that I think we have got to begin to say is it doesn't make sense. When this woman talked about crime, and crime is very often related to drugs, and drugs is related to hopelessness. No sane person destroys their body. If
America is under attack, literally, under attack by an enemy who is well-financed, well-supplied, and well-armed, and fully capable of declaring total war against the nation and its people, as we've seen in Colombia.
Thank you very much, Portland.
But let me touch on that. I don't think there's a magic answer to the crime problem, which is a serious problem not only in Portland, but all over the country. But clearly, what we do understand is there is a growing underclass in the United States of America. People who don't feel part of society, don't respect society. They are down below. They have no place to go. To those kids, doing drug deals and making a quick buck is a good thing. Those kids are not going to graduate high school. You have areas in America where 75% of the kids don't graduate high school.
Here in America, the enemy is already ashore, and for the first time, we are fighting and losing a war on our own soil. Every president for the past 2 decades, Democrat and Republican alike, has declared war on drugs, and each of them has lost that war and lost it miserably. They lost because they attempted to deal with only part of the drug problem. They lost because their initiatives were pulled apart by bureaucratic squabbling among their advisors. They lost because they always did too little and they did it too late. That's why the Democrats and Republicans in the Congress got together last year to write the law that required the president to give us a national drug strategy. Spend one penny out of every tax dollar to fight drugs. The Defense Department spends $300 billion a year to prepare for a war we hope we'll never have to fight. But the president says he wants to spend only $8 billion next year on a war we're already fighting and we're losing. The president says he wants to wage a war on drugs, but if that's true, what we need is another D-Day, not another Vietnam.
They believe that they have a future in their lives. And what the drug problem means to me is that you've got millions of people, primarily young people, who believe they ain't going nowhere.
I think the president has to join us in making a significantly greater commitment to these 6 areas to stem the rising tide of violence in America. And that's what it is, violence. First, we have to join together to ensure that drug dealers are punished swiftly, surely, and severely. And in line with what the president is calling for, we have to hold every drug user accountable. Because if there were no drug users, there would be no appetite for drugs and there'd be no market for them.
They may as well shoot up right now. And they're dying, they're committing crimes, they get the money to deal with those drugs. And what we as a nation have got to do is say, is it acceptable that you have a society which has people with billions and billions of dollars in wealth, corporations making huge profits, not paying a nickel in taxes, and yet you have educational systems throughout this country falling?
In a nutshell, the president's plan doesn't include enough police officers to catch the violent thugs, not enough prosecutors to convict them, not enough judges to sentence them, and not enough prison cells to put them away for a long time.
And not providing what these kids need, housing needs that are grossly unmet. Is the priority system in this country a rational one? And I think the answer...
You know, drug education is the only vaccine we have against the drug abuse among our young. And can you imagine me sitting before you and saying, we're only going to vaccinate 50% of the children against polio or smallpox? We have to do more. We have to educate our children about the dangers of drugs. We have to start in kindergarten, because we know that last year, 1 out of every 4 high school students in America tried drugs, and that the other 3 were prime targets of drug pushers. We can't afford to lose a generation while we're sorting out the budgetary priorities of this nation. We must do more.
Now, we can argue what socialism means till we're blue in the face. But I think for a start, what I believe is that this country has the wealth to guarantee a decent education to every child in this country, free education through college, if that child has the ability.
Third, We disagree with the President's decision to cut back on our previous commitment to protect against drugs coming across the border, to cut the Customs Service, the Coast Guard, and the Border Patrol. We think we should do more to stem the flow of drugs across our borders, and we think we should go one step further. Let's go after the drug lords where they live, with an international strike force, safe haven for these narco-terrorists, and they must know it. Fourth, the experts tell us there are 6.5 million addicts, addicted drug addicts out there, and that they're committing thousands upon thousands of crimes. And under the President's plan, we'll treat only 19 out of 100 addicts. He talked about pregnant women. Well, his proposal would help only 1/4 of the children under the age of 16 who are addicted, and 1/4 of the women who are pregnant and addicted. We can do better than that to prevent the next generation from becoming a generation of violence. Fifth,
we have the capabilities of providing a national health care system which guarantee you all of the health care that you need without out-of-pocket expenses, and we have the capability of providing every American with decent, affordable.
That's one of the main reasons why we created the drug czar in the first place. And across the country in Los Alamos weapons laboratories, other scientists are exploring new state-of-the-art techniques to battle the narco-terrorist. We need more of that kind of scientific enterprise. We need to enlist America's scientific muscle in turning back the drug traffickers.
But I do think that what we can do, and this woman raises the crime problem, if you give people hope, if you address housing problems, economic problems, educational problems, you're going to go a long way to cutting the drug problem, and you're going to make this a far more civilized society.